Welcome to Mild Moodcast, a podcast meant to explore mental health through the lens of another human hanging on by a thread. I'm Bianca, a registered mental health counselor intern, soon to be LMHC, here to chat about the topics we don't get enough of. So grab your headphones and let's dive into the crazy world of mental health. It's going to be a wild ride. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Mild Moodcast. I'm excited that you are listening today. I am excited that I pushed myself to do this episode today. It's coming out later than I anticipated. I've got like a final exam to do, and your girl's just been busy. And honestly, today I still feel heavy. I know that last week I avoided this episode. And if obviously you've read the title, Breaking the Cycle, Unlearning Unhealthy Love Patterns. And it's funny because I had actually forgotten what it even was about. I just knew that I had it in waiting. And I sat here and I was like, I really don't feel like doing this. I didn't feel like recording today again. I didn't feel like talking about unlearning unhealthy love patterns. And then I sat here and I asked myself, what am I avoiding? And it's funny because, again, I didn't remember what all I even wanted to talk about. It just felt kind of like too much. So I read over it and then I was like, of course, I need to talk about this episode. This is the one that I absolutely should be doing right now. But things have just been heavy. I'm feeling sad, feeling down. And, as humans, it's hard to do things that you enjoy. Anything at all, but, things that you enjoy when you are hurting, when you are feeling down, when you are feeling sad. So I just took a moment and I asked for the strength I needed to push, to get to it, to do this. Not because I don't love this podcast. Of course I do. I love recording these things. I love getting the feedback. I love being there for other people. It's sometimes just hard to show up for others when you're already struggling to show up for yourself. So I guess this is kind of me reclaiming this moment for me. So I'm going to go ahead and do the disclaimer, and then we're going to get into today's topic. I just wanted to be really real with you, really raw. Life is not always sunshine and rainbows, And I don't ever want to create that facade, because I think that as a society, we try to reach for that enough as it stands. Things should be happy all the time, and that's not the truth. They're not always going to be. Life is going to throw you curveballs when you think you're doing everything right. So, thanks for letting me be real. Thank you for letting me be me. Yeah, that disclaimer. As always, while my podcast is meant to spark reflection and curiosity, it's not a replacement for therapy. If you're navigating heavy emotions or challenges, please reach out to a professional. Therapy is a safe space to process and grow. You know what's funny about going to therapy too is sometimes I have therapy every Thursday. Sometimes I get to Thursday and I think to myself, I don't know what to talk about. And in moments like these, I need to pop out my journal and I need to write. But how can you do that when you have so many things to do? Final exam and then 2 more classes start tomorrow. Preparation for the week, things you gotta do. You have to carve out time for yourself. So I actually kind of sat in bed longer this morning than I normally would, in general and on a Sunday. And I just took what I needed, Was on TikTok a little bit, watching a few videos. I sat there and I just let myself lay in silence, even if I wasn't falling asleep. Because I want this to move through me. This sadness, this hurt that I'm experiencing, I don't want to push it away. I want it to be integrated into my life because I'm not afraid of the way that it feels. Does it suck? Yeah. But am I afraid of it? Do I want to push it away? No. Because that doesn't help me deal with it. It doesn't help me heal. All right. So listen. Healing your relationship patterns sound cute on social media. But in real life, it's a full-on emotional rebrand. You're trying to rewire your entire nervous system with nothing but a dream and a handful of affirmations. Like, I deserve healthy love, which is the truth. I deserve healthy love. Meanwhile, your subconscious is still trying to reenact the same 3 soap operas it grew up watching. But here's the thing. Not everybody's experience looks the same when it comes to unhealthy love patterns, and that is really important. For some people, healthy love feels boring, flat, suspicious even. But for others, like me, it's not boredom. It's trust. It's, how do I let this goodness in without waiting for the other shoe to drop? How do I stay when I'm so used to preparing myself to run? Take it from the runner herself. I'm not out here saying I've had 17 relationships and wrote the book on it. I've had maybe 3 real ones. But even with the small sample size, the patterns are loud, okay? It's not about quantity. It's about the quality of lessons. And trust me, my lessons were not quiet. So there are 2 main experiences when we start healing our love pattern. And notice I said main, and say these are the only 2. I just said main. So when you start healing, you usually land in one of 2 camps. The healthy feels boring camp. This is the person who grew up around chaos. Yelling, inconsistency, big highs and lows. And when they meet someone who's calm, it doesn't feel exciting. It feels wrong. They crave the adrenaline. It's not that they want drama, but instead it's that drama feels normal to their body, while calm feels like the party's over. It's like you're used to living at a Beyonce concert every day, and then you meet someone who's playing Nora Jones in the background. You're like, where's the bass? Where's the smoke machine? Where's all the glitter? And then you have the struggle to trust camp. And this is kind of where I fall. Healthy doesn't feel boring, but it feels hard to trust. It's like, you're telling me you actually mean what you say? You're not going to flip on me in 6 months? You're not going to suddenly realize I'm too much or not enough? We don't struggle with feeling uninterested in good love. We struggle believing that good love can last. And sometimes we even struggle to receive it fully because deep down, a part of us is still on high alert, scanning for when the dreams turn into nightmares. It's not boredom. It's fear of abandonment dressed up as caution. And it's something that I've been working through for a while. So let's talk about trust for a minute. Trust is not just believing that somebody isn't going to cheat on you or lie to you. It's way deeper than that. Real trust is trusting that when someone says they care about you, they actually do. Trusting that you don't have to micromanage or perform to keep their affection. Trusting that if something hard happens, they'll show up instead of disappearing. Trusting yourself to survive it if it doesn't work out. And when you have been disappointed, abandoned, and blindsided before, trust doesn't come easy. Trust becomes something you build slowly, like strength after an injury. And that's exactly how trust works after heartbreak. You don't trust because someone demands it. You trust because over time they show up. They match their words to their actions. And more importantly, you show up for yourself. Trust after trauma is like trying to keep a very dramatic puppy on a leash. Every sound, bark, bark, bark. Every person walking by, this is a threat. And you're like, bro, it's a mailman. Calm down. That's your brain learning that not everything safe is secretly dangerous. Oh, this topic, man. I want to talk for a second about why we feel the need to fix others. Let's get into this one, because if there's one pattern I know by heart, it's the let me love you into healing Olympics. Why do we do it? Because somewhere deep down, we internalize the idea that our love has to be proven through labor. That loving someone means rescuing them. Man, it's making me a little emotional because this is a topic that hits home for me. And it's funny because, as I've said before, I'm in a period of healing. I feel like we can always be healing. We can always be working and doing on different things. And sometimes they just show up in different ways. You work on something, and I've said this before, you get to look at it from a different perspective because you've been there and you healed another part of it. So, we have the idea that if we are enough, supportive enough, patient enough, loyal enough, we can fix their wounds. And in return, they'll finally love us the way we deserve. If I do all of these things and I heal all of the reasons that you stay so far from me, then you can love me free and clear. But it's a trap. You can't fix someone who doesn't want to heal. You can't love someone into becoming someone else. And you sure as hell can't heal your own wounds through somebody else's growth. And that doesn't even mean that, you can't see someone else grow and want to do it yourself. That means I can't push you to heal yourself and think I'm going to fix me too. Because honestly, sometimes trying to fix people isn't even about them. It's about us. It's about trying to rewrite the original story where we weren't loved properly. It's like a subconscious Hail Mary. Maybe if I can save them, I will finally feel like I was worth saving too. But that's not love. That is survival, coping, wrapped in romance. And let me be the first to tell you that it doesn't work. Because real love is mutual. Real love is, I see you. I meet you where you are. I walk beside you, not ahead of you, dragging you into healing. We are not therapists in relationships, y'all. We're not trauma surgeons with a side of hustle and couples counseling. And let me tell you, the benefits package for emotional labor is trash anyway. And I do want to have a bit of a disclaimer about inspiring growth and mirroring, because this can also be a very nuanced topic. It isn't black and white. We can absolutely, and I touched on this a second ago, but we can absolutely inspire growth in people we love. We can mirror healing to people just by being our authentic selves, especially in deep soul connections. Twin flames, karmic bonds, sacred partnerships. Love can wake people up. Sometimes your light is the invitation that reminds them of who they're capable of being. But even then, even when love inspires, the actual growth still belongs to them. Their healing is theirs to choose. Their journey is theirs to walk. You can be the mirror, but you cannot be the hands that rebuild someone's foundation for them. And honestly, even if that hurts, that's the beauty of it. Because when someone chooses their own healing, not because you demanded it, but because your love reflected a new possibility, it's real, it's lasting, it's theirs. And that is the kind of growth you can actually build a life with. They own it because they worked for it, because they wanted to. And I want to talk about what that even feels like, right? Like, what do you mean because I wanted to? Me owning it, it feels so hard to get there. This is the part that nobody warns you about. I mean, me, repeatedly, but other people. Healing feels weird as hell. Sometimes it feels boring and scary. It feels suspicious sometimes. Fuck, does it feel slow? It feels like setting down a heavy bag you forgot you were even carrying. And real growth isn't about becoming perfect at picking partners. It's about becoming better at picking yourself. It's not about noticing red flags faster. It's about trusting your gut, even when it's inconvenient. It's about leaving before you have to lose yourself. Is it scary to change? Of course it's scary. You're moving into a time where you've never had to show up as this version of yourself. You don't know for sure if it's going to be successful, but success isn't measured by whether you're doing something right or wrong. Truly think about what success means to you. If you are showing up, even if it's imperfect, if you never stop trying, if you communicate when it gets hard, you are successful. We have this misconception that everything has to be in line. Everything has to be perfect in order for real change to occur, in order for real healing, in order for me to step out and meet someone else where they're at. And it's not the truth. It is a lie that we have ingrained in our brains that keeps us stuck, that pushes us to believe that we don't deserve better, that we can't show up, And I'm going to say this because I always say this, whether you think you can or you can't, you're right. And I'm not going to argue with you about what you believe. But the belief that you will be successful is half the battle. Self-sabotage will creep in and cause you to spiral. And as I said, probably even last week, it's not that you'll never be triggered again. You're going to be triggered. It's going to happen. And just because you have a reaction that you don't like doesn't mean that you've fallen off. It doesn't change all of the work that you put in to be who you are today. It's just showing you what is still tender. The parts that are still sharp, the parts that you have to pay more attention to and give a little bit of extra love. Sometimes our brain wants us to burn everything to the ground. And we don't have to. I want you to reflect for a moment. All of this is about realizing that you don't have to work to be lovable. You don't have to earn basic respect. You don't have to fix anybody to be worthy of someone standing beside you. If nobody told you today, you're not crazy for wanting better. You're not broken because you loved the wrong people. You were never too much, and you were never not enough. You were just learning with the tools you had. And breaking the cycle doesn't mean you'll never feel scared again. It just means you choose differently even while you're scared. You let healthy love in, even when it makes your voice shake. You love yourself enough to walk away from anything that asks you to shrink. You are allowed to trust again. You are allowed to be loved without having to bleed for it. And you're allowed to outgrow the versions of you who didn't know better. All right, babies. That's the episode for today. Go forth. Break your generational love curses. Fall in love with yourselves. And remember, if they wanted a project, they could have bought an IKEA shelf. You are not assembly required. Love you. Mean it. See you next time. Thanks for tuning in to Mild Moodcast. Remember, the conversation doesn't end here. If you have any burning questions or topics you'd like me to cover, don't hesitate to reach out. You can find me on YouTube at Mild Moodcast and Instagram at Mild Mood Therapy. Let's keep the conversation going and continue to explore the wonderful world of mental health together. Until next time, stay curious and keep smiling.